locked in to the best Sooner recruiting and football news with Parker Thune and Grayson Singleton.
You better lock it up. No, you lock it up. You lock it up. Lock it up.
Hit the guys up on the Riverwind Casino call-in line at 405-329-9000 or text the show on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line at 405-651-3439.
Do it! Just do it!
Now, with Locked In, here's Parker Thune and Grayson Singleton.
Well, I guess this isn't our last show of the month of March. When we come back on Monday, that will be our final show. But I have to get this out of the way before the month of March concludes because it's an annual tradition. Screw the Bradford pear tree.
What'd the pears do to you?
I take it you're not familiar with the Bradford pear tree.
No.
Okay. The trees that smell disgusting
Oh,
with the white flowers.
Oh, that's what those things
yes,
are.
Those are the Bradford pear trees. We're not talking about like actual fruit-bearing trees.
Oh, okay. That's good to know.
Uh-huh. That's the Bradford pear tree.
Oh, those things smell
Every
terrible.
March, I am reminded what a nuisance and a scourge the Bradford pear tree is. The Bradford pear tree should be eradicated to the point of extinction.
Somebody didn't take his allergy medicine today.
Listen, whatever presidential candidate vows to eliminate all Bradford pear trees in the United States of America is the presidential candidate that will get my vote in the next election. I don't care what kind of person you are. I don't care what your viewpoints are otherwise. If you promise to get rid of the Bradford pear trees, I will vote for you. Every single March, this tree, this miserable tree, makes me question my own views on biblical inerrancy. I got to go back to Genesis 3 and wonder, was there a phrase that got lost in translation when the Lord was referring to thorns and thistles as a consequence of mankind's original sin? Did the existence of the Bradford pear tree come attached to that and somehow just get wiped from the translations? The Bradford pear tree is the worst. I am hoping this is something we can all agree on. If there is anyone out there that actually likes the Bradford pear tree or is even just indifferent to the Bradford pear tree, I would love to meet you in real life. This should be taken more seriously as a national issue than it is. Bradford pear trees should not exist. They should not be allowed to exist in God's country, the state of Oklahoma. If you want to keep them alive in like Iowa, you want to have like a Bradford pear tree conservatory in some irrelevant state, then by all means, do it. But keep the Bradford pear tree out of the state of Oklahoma.
S. Rob Boomin on the text line. Bradford pear trees are also extremely brittle and will blow apart at the first major wind, which makes you wonder, how do they survive here?
Hang on a second. Chris from Knoxville says, invoke the South Carolina ban on Bradford pear trees countrywide. Is this a thing? Did South Carolina ban the Bradford pear tree?
Looks like we know where Parker's moving to.
Oh, my goodness. Hang on. No, this is an actual thing. This is an actual tree. South Carolina banned the sale and planting of Bradford pear trees starting October 1st, 2024. Thank you. Who's the governor of that state? Who are the representatives of that state? I'm sending them all handwritten letters over the weekend. Thank you for doing what all 49 states should not hesitate to do.
A&P mechanic. Bradford trees were outside the Garden of Eden. Probably.
3-Star Shark says, you just pissed off the tree huggers. I don't care. Hug a different species of tree. You can hug any other species of tree, not the Bradford pear tree.
Yeah, why would you hug that one?
2-Star J in Tulsa says Bradford pear trees and daylight saving time must be eliminated.
Fair.
You know, I'm kind of with you on the daylight saving time. I'm not as staunch about that as I am about Bradford pear trees. I might move to South Carolina. Might do it. This might be the last you ever hear from me. Speaking of South Carolina, let's go ahead and transition pretty seamlessly into our content for the day here on Locked In. If you're not familiar with what we do, during the 2 o'clock hour every weekday. We're talking primarily OU football and recruiting. And get this, Oklahoma, the University of Oklahoma, the illustrious Oklahoma Sooners football program, had an unofficial visitor yesterday from the state of South Carolina. And a player that we have talked about, albeit not in great detail, before on this show. He will take an official visit to the University of Oklahoma at the beginning of the month of June. But to the best of my knowledge, this was his very first trip to campus. I am referring to nationally coveted interior offensive line prospect Desmond Green, who apparently made it in from South Carolina yesterday to watch Oklahoma practice. Now, the Sooners are going to scrimmage tomorrow, and they'll have several big-time visitors in town for that event. We'll dig into that a little bit later. But anytime you just have an unannounced, unofficial visitor show up from that far away, what does that tell you, Grayson?
There's probably a good amount of interest there.
Yes, there is. If you're making the trek from St. Stephen, South Carolina, to Norman, Oklahoma, you're not doing it just for the heck of it.
Especially,
at least not on your own dime.
Exactly.
The OV? Okay, yeah, sure. You know what? I would completely get it. I would completely get it if you went into OV season under the impression that Oklahoma had very little chance with Desmond Green. I probably would have gone into OV season under that impression as well if he hadn't taken this spring unofficial, because, again, that's a lot of time, that's a lot of money, that's a lot of effort that's going into that trip, and you're not doing that, especially not at this point in your recruitment, if you're not serious about Oklahoma. So, as first reported by my colleague Brandon Drum on OU Insider, late last night, Oklahoma did host Desmond Green yesterday at practice. He is the number 1 prospect in the state of South Carolina, the number 6 interior offensive line in the nation, interior offensive lineman in the nation, I should say, and the number 126 overall player in the country. So, to this point, he has official visits booked with several other schools. Georgia's heavily in the mix. Clemson's heavily in the mix. Florida, Florida State. A lot of the usual suspects. But here is Oklahoma. Bill Bedenbaugh making a push for one of the best in the offensive trenches out of SEC territory. If you want to chime in throughout the show, by the way, you want to chime in with your thoughts on Desmond Green, any of the visitors this weekend, any questions that you want to fire at Grayson and I over the course of the program today, the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line is 405-651-3439. 405-651-3439. Jim in Arlington says, so if all the Bradford pear trees start to burn mysteriously, we know where to look. On principle, I am opposed to committing arson, but I would make an exception for a Bradford pear tree.
Fair enough.
So yes, Jim in Arlington, I should probably be the prime suspect if there is a rash of Bradford pear tree murders. Frisco Sooner says Bradford pears and crepe myrtles both need to go. Can't speak to crepe myrtles, not as familiar with them.
My mom used to grow crepe myrtles.
Okay.
I think they're fine.
Not invasive?
No,
not a nuisance?
Not really.
Don't smell like, I don't even know what Bradford pear trees smell like. What do they like? What is the closest parallel to what a Bradford pear tree smells like? I can't even put my finger on it. It's just like, it's almost like sticking your head inside of an old trash can. You don't really know what's been there.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's just, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one.
It's just nasty. You can't really identify the smell. It's just nasty. A 405 listener on the text line asks, how are things with Felix Ojo? Well, I mean, things are fine. Oklahoma's going to get the last official visit, so that's something. But it kind of feels, well, I shouldn't say that because people are going to get the wrong impression. But last year at this time, everybody figured Michael Fasusi was a Longhorn. And then Oklahoma got him in town for an official visit and really, really swayed things. With Felix Ojo, it's kind of the same deal right now. Texas is considered the leader by most across the industry, but it had long been apparent with Fasusi that OU and Texas were the two top contenders. Texas A&M was in there to a certain extent, but for the most part, it was OU Texas, and everybody knew it. There are other players for Felix Ojo. Michigan, right there in the thick of the race. Notre Dame, Ole Miss, others. So it's not as simple as, OU just has to overcome Texas for this kid. No. They're going to have to overcome Texas, certainly. They will also have to overcome Notre Dame and Ole Miss and Michigan and some of the other top programs across the country. And ultimately, you're going to have to put forth a very, very compelling financial offer for a kid like that. And that, to me, is going to be really, really interesting to see how OU addresses that recruitment in particular, because I don't think there is much of a doubt that Felix Ojo is the highest dollar target on OU's board in the 2026 class.
Easy.
He is the highest dollar target. What does Jim Nagy think about paying big money for an elite left tackle? That's a sincere question. It's not rhetorical, because I don't know. And we do not have a frame of reference yet. Is he going to be willing to part ways with more money than would be considered reasonable for an elite left tackle? Is he one of those guys that thinks, okay, you absolutely got to have one, and if you got a dude that you know is going to be a certifiable stud at the next level, is going to be the anchor, the left side of your line for 3 years, we'll pay whatever it takes? Or is he going to say, we can find somebody comparable at a much cheaper price? Who's to say?
There are certain positions, we talked about this last week, there are certain positions that you can possibly get away with cheaping out on. I don't think left tackle's one of them. And especially if you see a generational talent like a Felix Ojo who's going to command top dollar, left tackle's one of those positions where getting a generational guy in there can really, really explode the trajectory of where your football team can go. I mean, you look at all the elite tackles that Alabama's put out during its run. The one outlier in this, to me, is that LSU 2019 team who didn't really have a name brand left tackle. Their most notable offensive lineman was their center. But left tackle, if the Jim Nagy philosophy is going to be, I don't want to pay that type of money for a left tackle that's never played a down of college football, that would scare me. That would scare me, because left tackle is one of those cornerstone positions. I talked about this a couple weeks ago. It's one of those cornerstone positions: wide receiver, quarterback, left tackle, defensive end, and a guy to cover the other team's best receiver. One of the 5 cornerstone positions of the football team, of a successful football team. So those are the positions I don't think you cheap out on. And if that's the direction he's going to go, okay, but do so at your own risk.
Very fair point. And given Jim Nagy's NFL background, I'm going to make an NFL comparison here. Why aren't the Vikings paying Sam Darnold?
Because he's not special? That's my guess?
Okay, I mean, that is one reason. But, what's the most obvious reason why the Vikings aren't paying Sam Darnold?
Oh, because they got another quarterback in the wings that they spent a premium draft pick on?
Correct. They have J.J. McCarthy.
J.J. McCarthy.
And so, another aspect of the whole deal that's going to be very interesting to just see how it unfolds is Jim Nagy and this Oklahoma front office willing to pony up big money for Felix Ojo, knowing that you already have Michael Fasusi on campus, and he and Ojo are only a year apart? You have to consider, right, the law of supply and demand.
No, I agree. I agree with you, and that was my first thought until you brought up the Jim Nagy. Is his philosophy going to be? Because those are two different worlds of reasoning too, of the same problem. So on the one hand, you could say, "Hey, I like to pay left tackles, as anybody should pay left tackles, but we already have not one but another tackle already in the 2025 class, which is 1 year ahead." That is logical and sound reasoning that I can get behind. If you said, look, we don't think we're going to get premium production or even opportunity for premium production from Felix Ojo because Michael Fasusi and Ryan Foje are projected to be here for most of OJ's stay here, then that's something that I think more people than not are going to get behind. But if your reasoning is, I don't want to pay premium dollar for a left tackle, somebody before me may have already done it, and we're going to honor that, but I don't want to do it, that's when things get a little bit hairy, because then you have to start thinking down the line after Michael Fasusi and Ryan Foje, what that's going to look like. So if the reasoning is, I don't think we should pony up this much money, which is what I think too, I think there's going to be a cap. If I were doing this, there would be a cap on how much I offer Ojo, given the amount of money I've already paid for Fasusi and Foje.
I love how everybody on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line has a different description of what the Bradford pear tree smells like. Used toilet paper, dead fish, cat urine, poop emoji, lukewarm rotting meat. Again, it's not one thing that we can all agree on. It's just like sticking your head in the bottom of an old trash can. You can't really identify what the smell is. It's just absolutely disgusting. Kill the Bradford pear tree. And I'm not talking about any singular tree. I am talking about the species. Wipe it out. Burn it with fire. Every single one of them across the country, across the globe. Burn the Bradford pear trees. Make it impossible for them to live and thrive and proliferate. Please and thank you. Politicians, I'm speaking to you. You have the power to make this happen. Make it happen. Use your platform for something that is unambiguously good. And this is one of those things.
My only question to you is, does eliminating the Bradford pear tree throw our ecosystem into some sort of tailspin?
No, we still have bees.
Because
bees aren't going
fair.
anywhere.
That's fair.
As long as we have bees, as long as we take care of the bees, we'll be just fine. Okay, folks. Keep filling it up on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line, 405-651-3439. Always get a ton of interaction with you guys during this hour of the show. Absolutely love it. We're going to hit a quick timeout, come back with more OU football and recruiting talk. Keep it right here on The Ref, the home of Sooner fans.
Have you or someone you know suffered a loss to your home or business from the recent storms? Before you accept a settlement, call Brown O'Haver at 405-735-5510. Brown O'Haver is a local-based company helping Oklahomans with claims since 1988 with preparation and expert analysis detailing your loss and insurance settlement. As your trusted consultant, Brown O'Haver can give you peace of mind and make sure you're getting what's yours. Call Brown O'Haver today, 405-735-5510, and make sure they're working for you.
Minnesota cattleman and world champion steer wrestler J.D. Struxness talks about the benefits of using Purple Wave Auction.
You know, I love visiting with them. They do a fantastic job. They know their machinery. And, man, if you're in the market to buy anything, they are the easiest way and the most helpful people to get you what you need. It's as easy as the click of a mouse to get on there and buy something.
Anything and everything you need for your farming or ranching operation, all at super affordable auction pricing. Visit purplewave.com. That's purplewave.com.
Are you ready to roll into fun? Come on down to Sooner Bowling Center in Norman, where the strikes are spectacular and the smiles never end. Sooner Bowl has something for everyone. Bowling for the entire family, a game center, plus the spare time grill with delicious food. Have a friendly competition, a great family outing, or an unforgettable birthday party. Maybe problem solving is your thing. Try Escape Sooner, located in Sooner Bowl. You're locked in a room for 1 hour where you solve a puzzle and try to escape. It's fun for the entire family. Visit SoonerBowl.com for more info.
Hey, wouldn't it be great if life came with a remote control? You know, you could hit pause when you needed to, or hit rewind, like that time you knocked down that wasp's nest. Uh-oh. Well, life doesn't always give you time to change the outcome, but prediabetes does. With early diagnosis and a few healthy changes, you can stop prediabetes before it leads to type 2 diabetes. To learn your risk, take the 1-minute test today at doihaveprediabetes.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and its prediabetes awareness partners.
After a car crash, life can be hard. You're hurt, stressed, and then, when you need help the most, the insurance company doesn't care.
They drag their feet, question your injuries, and make things difficult. They put profits over people.
At McIntyre Law, we level the playing field. We take on the billion-dollar insurance companies so you can focus on what matters, getting your life back. Call us at 405-777-7000. You deserve better.
I thought mixing bleach with my floor cleaner would take the stain out.
When my youngest ate the dog's medicine, that was a new one.
I was trying to protect my garden, but I accidentally sprayed myself with pesticide.
So I called 1-800-222-1222, the poison helpline.
A poison expert helped me figure out what to do next.
I was connected to someone who spoke Spanish.
They answered my questions.
It was free.
It was confidential.
It was real help in real time.
Keep the poison experts in your pocket. 1-800-222-1222.
At Primrose Funeral Service, we have been compassionately serving families for over 80 years. Do your loved ones a favor by pre-planning your funeral and cemetery arrangements. With pre-planning, Primrose can help eliminate the difficult decisions at a difficult time, because nobody should plan for a loss at the same time they are experiencing one. Our sincere commitment is to make things a little easier for you and your family. So contact Primrose Funeral Service at 405-321-6000 or visit them online at primrosefuneralservice.com.
They say if you don't like the weather in Oklahoma, wait 5 minutes and check it again. Nope, not there yet. Ah, that's more like it. Being comfortable is important, and if it's -5 degrees or 100 degrees, Norman Air has you covered. Our impeccable quality and unbeatable service is what sets us apart from our competitors. It's just part of our mission to keep Oklahoma comfortable. Visit normanair.com for all your heating, air, plumbing, and electrical needs. Norman Air, service to the max.
Gunny of Stutzman Army on the text line says, we should just contract the Bama fan that killed the trees at Toomer's Corner to genocide the Bradford pear. Again, on principle, I don't advocate for genocide in any form or fashion unless we're talking about the Bradford pear tree, in which case I fully support it. So, I don't think Harvey Updike is with us. I believe he passed away several years ago. So I don't know if we can contract his services in particular, but I'm sure we could find someone. Sure, we could find someone with the adequate horticultural knowledge to pull off a genocide of the Bradford pear tree.
Or we could just have you do it.
Yeah, see, I don't have the horticultural knowledge, though.
I'm pretty sure if you set your mind to it, you could figure it out.
Yeah, I have a life. That's the problem, you know? we gotta find somebody who's retired or has a lot of free time on their hands, somebody that can devote a great deal of time and effort into eradicating the Bradford pear tree from existence.
Find one of Steely's YouTube yahoos.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely. We can no doubt find a YouTube yahoo or two whose time and energy can be better allocated to things that matter, like getting rid of the Bradford pear tree. Happy Sikkim Jesus Day to all who celebrate. I can tell you don't get that reference, and that's okay.
I don't.
It is March 28th, 3/28.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, this is mostly celebrated by New England Patriots fans because of the 28-3 comeback.
Right.
And what was that, Super Bowl 51?
51. 51.
51, yeah. However, Oklahoma also had a very memorable comeback from 28-3 down as well, and it happened on November 16th, 2019 in Waco, Texas. Now, the reason why I refer to today as Sikkim Jesus Day is because me and my friends and many of my colleagues in the industry have always referred to that game as the Sikkim Jesus game. The reason being is because, okay, let me set the scene for you. It's a little bit of a chilly night in Waco, definitely sweater weather, November in Central Texas. And so, we're going through the whole pregame festivities thing. Both teams are warming up, and, you got some celebrity star power on the sideline. Matt Kemp was there, decked out in all his OU swag. And Baylor, I remember, had one of the coolest intro videos, or like hype videos, preceding their tunnel walk that I have ever seen. They have, similar to what Oklahoma has in-house broadcasting-wise with Sooner Vision, Baylor has an operation down there called Baylor Vision. They put together an awesome tunnel walk video. It was set to that song Blow by Ed Sheeran and Chris Stapleton and Bruno Mars, which was brand new at the time and, very popular.
It's a pretty good song.
Yeah, it is. And so Baylor runs out of the tunnel. OU comes out. They do the Baylor line, obviously, because that's their thing. All the students were dressed in yellow that night. They run onto the field. They run up in the student section. It's a vicious student section, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely vicious. And so they get all the students up in their sections there. Oklahoma trots out onto the field to boos, as opposing teams do, down at McLean Stadium. And then they have the pregame invocation. I cannot for the life of me remember what his name was, the name of the pastor that gave the pregame invocation. But rather than concluding his prayer with amen, he concluded it with "Sick 'em Jesus."
I don't know how your pastor father would have reacted to that. But mine, but mine would have been like, "What the hell did I just see?"
And of course, we're all kind of looking around at each other like, "Did that just happen?"
They have a pregame invocation at Baylor?
Yes, they do.
I did not know that.
Uh-huh.
I don't know how I feel about that either.
They're technically a religiously affiliated institution.
Well, right.
I don't know if they've dissociated from it as much as TCU has.
Okay,
you can't even call TCU Texas Christian University anymore.
Oh, no.
They insist upon just going by TCU. That's it. There is no Texas Christian. It's just TCU.
And Baylor's a private school, so, you can do that.
Uh-huh.
I just didn't know they did.
But, yeah, concluded the pregame invocation with "Sick 'em Jesus." I watched the first probably quarter and a half from down on the sidelines. Oklahoma went down 28-3. I moved up to the press box and proceeded to witness the greatest comeback, score-wise, in the history of Oklahoma football. Theo Weiss caught a touchdown that night. A redshirt freshman tight end by the name of Braden Willis caught a touchdown that night. A true freshman tight end by the name of Austin Stogner caught 2 touchdowns that night. And, of course, Gabe Burkich hit the field goal to put Oklahoma ahead with just over a minute left. Nick Benito sealed it with the game-winning interception off Charlie Brewer moments later.
Tanner Lurie on the YouTube chat, CeeDee Lamb was out in that game.
That's right. He was. See, I forgot about that. And that's why when Oklahoma went down 28-3, all of us were kind of like, okay, this is over. Because if you had CeeDee Lamb with the high-octane offense that Oklahoma had at the time with Lincoln Riley at the controls, it was easy to figure, okay, even if they don't come all the way back, they're going to shake back. They're going to get back in this thing. They'll give Baylor a run for their money. But no CeeDee Lamb that night meant that you were relying on a bunch of freshmen and inexperienced. Like, who else was there at wide receiver for Oklahoma that night?
Would Marvin Mims have been there by that point?
No. Marvin Mims was still a senior in high school then. Who did Oklahoma even have at receiver in that football game? It was, you had the freshmen, right? That crop of freshmen. So you had Theo Weiss and Jaden Hazelwood and Trajan Bridges and Nick Basquin. There you go. Nick Basquin was a big member of that receiving corps that year in 2019. Charleston Rambo. Okay, so there were a few. Yeah, there were a few. An 806 listener on the text line said, I had forgotten about the "Sick 'em Jesus" thing. I sprained my eyeballs from rolling them so hard. Also, I'm a preacher's kid, too. Word. PK squad. CJ Sooner Florida says,
Don't ever say that again.
What?
I am not a.
We're not allowed to establish a PK squad?
Hell no.
Come on now. It's a brotherhood. CJ Sooner Florida said, Grayson's a PK too. So much makes sense now.
How so? Because I feel like I halfway curse more than anybody on this station.
Now that is true. That is 1,000% true. Yeah, I wouldn't say you would adhere to the same type of PK vibe that I do.
Well, see,
here's
the thing. Here's the thing with PKs that I've come to learn. There's one of two. Either you can tell they're PKs or they go completely off the other way.
You're saying you're of the latter group?
In some facets of my life.
3-star Shark recalls Jalen Hurts at QB running the quarterback lead numerous times. Man, I tell you, was it in the second quarter or in the third quarter that Jalen Hurts, I think they were down 31-10 at the time. Jalen Hurts was about to cross the goal line for a touchdown run and fumbled the ball.
Yep.
And Baylor recovered.
Yep.
And again, it was in the third quarter, because I remember which direction they were going relative to the press box when that happened. And of course, at that point, you're like, well, okay, it was fun while it lasted. Fun to have those visions of a comeback, but Baylor's just going to roll. Denzel Mims baptized Jaden Davis that night. I remember that. Like the first 20 minutes of the game was just Charlie Brewer going up top to Denzel Mims over and over and over again. And then, was it Parnell Motley? Was it Parnell Motley that actually did something good? Was it Parnell Motley that punched that ball out of Jermichael Hasty's hands? It was either him or Patrick Fields. I can't remember. One of them punched it out. One of them recovered it.
The reason why
that might have been Parnell Motley's one shining moment in an OU uniform.
The reason I'm laughing right now is because when Parker and I talk about Parnell Motley off air, it is the funniest thing ever.
Dave from Norman says, didn't he just flat out drop the ball? Yeah, pretty much. Jalen Hurts. No, he got hit as he was crossing the goal line, but it was not a hit that should have jarred the ball loose, and Baylor recovered. And felt like it was curtains for Oklahoma, but it was not to be. I also remember Lincoln Riley coaching with some vigor that night. He got everybody together on the sideline in the second quarter when they were down. I don't know what the deficit was at that point, 21-3, 28-3. Maybe it was 31-10. And he just railed on everybody. I mean, they were showing the overhead broadcast camera view from the Sky Cam.
Yep.
And, I mean, Lincoln Riley was as hot as I ever saw him. Up until the next time they were in Waco, Texas in 2021 when he threw a hissy fit because Dave Aranda kicked a field goal after Baylor prematurely stormed the field, which, to be quite honest, I don't really fault Lincoln Riley for. That was kind of ticky-tack. But speaking of which, we may have a burgeoning scandal on our hands. I received an anonymous DM on Twitter.com earlier this week. And this is all it said. Lincoln Riley is at the Starbucks in Jenks, followed by 7 exclamation points. I have no idea why Lincoln Riley would have been at the Starbucks in Jenks, Oklahoma during spring ball at the University of Southern California during their spring practice period. I guess he did just sign a former Jenks Trojan in Cash Jacobson, who is early enrolled out there and going through spring practices with the team. But to the best of my knowledge, there's only been one confirmed instance of Lincoln Riley returning to the Sooner State since he pulled one over on Oklahoma and turned tail and ran out to USC. And that was when he was trying to recruit Trace Ford out of the transfer portal. You remember that?
I do.
Yeah, winter of 2022 going on into 2023. Lincoln Riley came to Stillwater. It was confirmed by multiple eyewitnesses. Lincoln Riley was in the town of Stillwater, Oklahoma, trying to coax Trace Ford out to sunny L.A. He pulled it off with Mason Cobb.
He did.
He did not pull it off with Trace Ford.
And Mason Cobb was really damn good for him, too.
Yeah, he was all right. He was all right. Toby at the Pentagon says he didn't come back to help Caleb Williams pack. LOL. No, I don't think he came back to help Caleb Williams pack. I think if he had been, like, Caleb Williams left for USC in early February of 2022. I mean, the Lincoln Riley hysteria, obviously it was at its peak for the first week or two after he left, but that hysteria lasted for months and months and months. If Lincoln Riley had shown his face in the state of Oklahoma at any point during calendar year 2022, he probably would have faced immense wrath. I'm sure he probably went out of his way to make sure he wouldn't have to go back.
I was about to say, I feel like it was a calculated move for him not to.
Brian and Bixby says he's busy investigating a black Escalade. I did think it was hilarious. We played the sound clip earlier. Riley, the reason he cited for canceling his spring game is because he didn't want his opponents to have a schematic advantage, which is the most Lincoln Riley thing, of all Lincoln Riley thinks.
Let me ask you about that clip, because I heard when y'all played that clip too. If you remove the name and the face from the head coach, and I guess the voice too, since that, I guess, haunts y'all, did his explanation for why he doesn't want to have a spring game kind of make a little sense?
No, I don't think it did.
Really? Why not? Because I was listening to that, and I was like, well, I mean, there's a little bit of, I think there's some decent reasoning in there.
Okay, but here's my thing. If that was the case, and that was actually the reason that Lincoln Riley wanted to do away with the spring game, why didn't he do away with it as soon as he got out to USC?
That's a fair
point. Why
point.
isn't he just following the trend now?
That's a very good point.
He never would have gotten away with canceling the spring game at Oklahoma. Like that would have been a call made above his head. They would not have. Joe Castiglione and the powers that be in the OU administration would not have allowed the spring game to disappear. But now, all of a sudden in 2025, the year that everybody else is canceling the spring game, now here's USC doing away with theirs as well.
Look, and I'm not going to say Lincoln Riley is some pioneer or anything like that. Obviously, he wasn't going to start the trend. But if you look at it just as a case of an isolated incident, sure, he's following a trend. I get that. But when I hear him say what he said in terms of we got to put something vanilla together for it because we don't want people getting a schematic advantage of us on TV, here's what it made me think of. His offense is so intricate and so diverse and so, there's a lot of wiggles to it.
Yes.
You all know this. If you have to take a hiatus from implementing all that in, instead of continuing the gradual improvement, it sort of makes sense as a coach to be like, maybe even if you're hopping on a trend, let's hop on this so we can continue our progression to where we need to be in the season and not have to stop and go back to the vanilla stuff when I can continue putting all these tricks and gizmos into my scheme. If you think about it that way, it makes a little bit of sense.
Maybe. I'll give you a little bit of ground there. Not very much at all. A 918 listener points out it probably doesn't help that Lincoln Riley looks like 50% of the white guys in Jenks. Yeah, I'm going to chalk up the Starbucks incident to a case of mistaken identity. Maybe it was his brother. Maybe it was Garrett Riley.
Who looks very similar to him.
Yes, they do look very, very similar.
A texter in the 918.
Garrett's a lot cooler.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
A texter in the 918. If Grayson likes Lincoln, I can't listen to the show anymore. I am not a fan of Lincoln Riley.
Oh, J-Dub bringing it full circle to close out the segment. Lincoln Riley is the Bradford pear of football coaches. Stinkin' Lincoln. All right, folks. With that, let's head to a quick break. When we come back, as I mentioned a little bit earlier on, big visits for some key targets in Oklahoma's 2026 recruiting class. Well, not in Oklahoma's class yet, but they're in the 2026 cycle that Oklahoma would very much like to add to the fold. We will discuss those particular prospects and their visits coming up on the other side. You're listening to The Ref, the home of Sooner fans.
This is Deion Burks, and you're listening to The Ref, the home of Sooner fans.
Life runs on connection, powering your home, your work, and your world. At OEC and OEC Fiber, we keep the lights on with reliable electric service, and we keep you connected with fast, affordable internet. As a cooperative, we're more than a provider. We're your neighbors, committed to serving you with unmatched, dedicated service. Because at OEC, you're not just a customer, you're a valued member. Learn more at okcoop.org or oecfiber.com.
What's up, Ref Army? It's Dusty Dvorak. Do you eat, sleep, and breathe football? KREF is the only place for the most comprehensive daily analysis of Sooner and college football. Catch me every Tuesday and Wednesday during the 10 a.m. hour of The Plank Show as I cut it up with Plank and Josh about everything in the world of Sooner and college football. That's every Tuesday and Wednesday on The Plank Show, and there's only one place to hear it. The Ref, the home of Sooner fans. Download the KREF app today to listen from anywhere.
That twinge in your knee isn't going to wait until Monday, and neither do we. At Orthostat, we've expanded, so you get better hours, better facilities, and the same great care. Open 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., 7 days a week. Whether it's sprains, strains, fractures, or joint pain, from knuckles to knees and every joint in between, our same-day, affordable care gets you back to life faster. Visit ouchorthostat.com to learn more.
I'm State Farm Agent Julia Chu, and you already know our office is a place to turn for your insurance and financial needs. Now that place has changed to 701 Wall Street. While the location may have changed, the commitment of our team is as strong as ever. So whether you already know us or want the one-of-a-kind service offered by the Julia Chu Agency, call us at 329-3311 or come visit at our new location, 701 Wall Street, right on the corner of Boardwalk and Wall Street in Norman.
Hi, everybody. Toby Rowland here for one of my favorite places to golf, the Trails Golf Club in Norman. The Trails offers great golf activities for the entire family. Men's and Ladies Golf Association events, summer junior golf for the kids, plus club fittings throughout the year. The Trails also has great family social events, monthly special dinners, plus holiday brunches and catering. When you're looking for the perfect place to golf, check out the Trails Golf Club in Norman. Contact Zane Alexander today at 405-364-3790 or visit trailsgolf.com.
When I grow up, I want to be a teacher.
Because when I'm a teacher, I can help kids to learn and chase their dreams.
PI, a defect of the immune system, affects millions of children. Early and accurate diagnosis and treatment give children like Sam a chance to achieve their dreams.
It takes a lot of caring teachers to make school fun. It took a lot of caring people to keep my dream alive. And now, because of them, I can be head of the class.
For more information, visit the Jeffrey Modell Foundation at info4pi.org.
I'm Scarlett Johansson. My family relied on public assistance to help provide meals for us. These meals fueled my involvement in theater and the arts as a child, which fostered my love for acting. The Feeding America network of food banks helps millions of people put food on the table. You can join the movement to end hunger by donating, volunteering, and advocating. Because when people are fed, futures are nourished. Join the movement to end hunger at feedingamerica.org/actnow.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Hey, wouldn't it be great if life came with a remote control? You know, you could hit pause when you needed to, or hit rewind, like that time you knocked down that wasp's nest.
Uh-oh.
Well, life doesn't always give you time to change the outcome, but prediabetes does. With early diagnosis and a few healthy changes, you can stop prediabetes before it leads to type 2 diabetes. To learn your risk, take the 1-minute test today at doihaveprediabetes.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and its prediabetes awareness partners.
One segment to go here on Locked In. Parker Thune, Grayson, Singleton here with you. This show is brought to you today and every day by Dorsey Jones Buick GMC out in El Reno. Today is Friday. That means tomorrow is Saturday. That means you can head out to Dorsey Jones Buick GMC tomorrow and get a half-price oil change. That's right, excellent service out there. In addition to their phenomenal sales environment, friendly staff, obviously plenty of options if you're looking for a Buick or GMC, which are some of the most reliable vehicles on the market. Plenty of reasons to head out to El Reno and check in with the folks at Dorsey Jones Buick GMC. All right, Grayson. It's been on the radar for a while now that the Jandro brothers, Bo and Nico from Chandler High School down in Arizona, or I'm sorry, Hamilton High School down in Chandler, Arizona, are going to be on campus tomorrow. Bo, a high 3-star linebacker, Nico, a 3-star cheetah target for Oklahoma. And then we found out, and this one kind of came onto the radar a little bit later, and I'm talking a lot later, i.e. just found out a couple hours ago, that the Sooners are also going to get Deacon Schmidt, 4-star offensive tackle target out of the state of Colorado, on campus tomorrow. So those, I would say, are the 3 most consequential visitors on tap for this weekend. I know we've talked pretty extensively on a couple occasions about the Jandro Bros, and we'll get into them in a little bit in just a second. But the news that Deacon Schmidt is visiting is significant and highly positive. Oklahoma, for a long, long time, has been engaged in what was at one time a heads-up battle with Nebraska for his services. As of late, you've seen Tennessee enter the picture a little bit more heavily. It's not completely out of the question that he might pick another school based on what happens during OV season, but I would be very, very surprised if his school of choice wasn't Oklahoma, Nebraska, or Tennessee. Deacon Schmidt, one of the one of the few guys at tackle for Oklahoma that has been squarely on the radar as a very not only talented but likely addition to the 2026 class for Oklahoma if they can continue to sustain the momentum that they originally started picking up last summer in his recruitment. Now, you've seen the tape on Deacon Schmidt. What do you think of him as a football player?
You remember, I guess I should probably ask this prerequisite. Have you seen the movie The Blind Side?
Of course I've seen the movie The Blind Side.
Okay. We have established that there are some things that have slipped through the cracks
fair
when it comes
point.
to movies.
Completely fair. Completely fair.
So you have seen.
I have seen The Blind Side many, many, many times. One of my absolute favorite movies.
As it should be. You remember that scene where Michael takes the defensive end that had been talking you-know-what to him and vaults him over the gate through the back of the end zone?
What's the penalty for? I don't know. Excessive blocking.
There you go. You remember that scene?
Yeah.
That's what Deacon Schmidt's tape looks very much like. On multiple occasions, this dude is yamming people 20, 30 yards downfield. He a lot of versatility. Brings a lot of versatility, can play guard and tackle. I'm going to guess Oklahoma wants him to play guard. That would be my presumption. I think he's better there. He's an excellent puller. He's excellent at the combo block and coming off onto a linebacker, gets to the second level very well. As a run blocker, you want somebody who can move some furniture. That's a dude that can move some furniture. So if Oklahoma is able to get him and he develops well, you may not need to have a special running back like we talked about yesterday. You may not need to have that because you'll be able to drive a Mack truck through a hole that he creates. So, I mean, very, very impressive tape that I went through.
The interesting thing with the Jandro bros as well, and I've had a future cast in favor of Oklahoma for Deacon Schmidt for a long, long time. I'm admittedly less confident in that than I once was because it felt like at one point Oklahoma was on track to get a real early commitment from him before Nebraska started making a charge, and I mentioned Tennessee as well. But still feel pretty good about Oklahoma's odds in the long run to lock down his pledge. He's going to be in town June 6th through 8th for his official visit. But with the Jandro brothers, interesting phenomenon here, Grayson, because Bo just keeps racking up those offers.
Mm-hmm.
And there are very, very few schools that pull the trigger on Nico. Interestingly, there have been a couple schools that have pulled the trigger on Nico independently from Bo, where you've seen that phenomenon play out much more commonly with Bo, where there's a school that offers one and not the other. They offer Bo but not Nico. I think Boise State is one of those schools that has somehow offered Nico but not Bo. Oklahoma, and both the brothers would say this and have said this on the record, that Oklahoma is the most prestigious school that has offered them both. And so you would figure that's going to give them a real leg up moving forward, assuming they like their experience on campus tomorrow. And on paper, I think it's easy to look at those two recruitments and say Oklahoma's got a pretty good shot there. But you never know until they actually show up and see it. And they haven't gotten the chance to show up and see it yet. That will happen tomorrow. So I think we should have a pretty clear idea within 24, 48 hours in the aftermath of this visit just how real the Oklahoma buzz actually is with Bo and Nico Jandro.
How's Nico healing up? Because I know you said he's coming off of an injury of some type.
Yeah, as far as I know, it's not anything that's plaguing him right now. He was playing injured last season from what I understand, and that was cause enough for a lot of schools to say, okay, we need to wait and see. We need to see what he looks like, what the healthy version of him looks like before we offer him.
So, which brings me to this question. If Oklahoma's in on both of them and is cool pulling the trigger on them, how have other schools not? Like, that seems like a very strange thing for me to reconcile in my mind, is if even if you just want one, even with the wicked nature of how college football works, if you know you want one, but you know they both really, really want to play together, and the fact that they're twins.
Yeah.
Why would you not offer both of them, given that they're both really good, and Nico seems to be just fine with his injury?
I tell you, man, recruiting calculus at the P4 level is wild like that. I mean, genuinely wild. I can think, over the years, there are so many examples, and there are examples every year, right, of kids that should not have 40-plus offers when you watch the tape that wind up with 40-plus offers, and there are kids that, I think Braxton Lindsey is a great example of this. Every time I watch Braxton Lindsey's tape, I'm like, how is BYU the school that Oklahoma's fighting for with Braxton Lindsey?
Mm-hmm.
How does he not have offers from the Georgias and Oregons and Alabamas and Clemsons of the world? And so, to that point, like, I was scrolling through my Twitter feed today, and I was scrolling through the For You section where, occasionally you see stuff from people you don't follow, and there was a YouTube Yahoo that, of course, was using the clickbaity titles and descriptions to try and drive traffic to their YouTube video. Bombshell! Jim Nagy and the Oklahoma front office won't be paying attention to recruiting rankings with their evaluations. And I'm just like, that's exactly what every program does right now. With very few exceptions. I mean, I know the stories go and there's truth to them. When Jimbo Fisher was at Texas A&M, he didn't really care to do evaluations. He just told his staff and his NIL folks, go find the highest-rated guys, recruit them, we're going to sign them. We're going to have the highest-rated class of all time. And they did.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of those guys didn't pan out.
Nope.
Because they weren't doing their own independent evaluations. Every single program is doing their own independent evaluations. And I think the most obvious testament to this reality is when you see a school like, I don't know, Arkansas State offer a legit blue-chip kid that already has a bunch of P4 interest. Why is Arkansas State bothering to offer a kid like that? Well, because, quite frankly, it's because they're not paying attention to what everybody else is doing in recruiting offices across the country. They're doing their own evals. They're making their own calls. They see talent. They see something they like. They're going to go after it. I guarantee you, Jim Nagy is not scrolling through 24/7 Sports or Rivals and going, let me go on down the list here. We need another tight end. Let's take a look at the top 20 tight ends in the country. No. Jim Nagy, personnel staffs, especially at a school like Oklahoma, are expansive, man. They roll through evals of so many players. There are so many players that wind up on their radar regardless of whether they're even close to OU caliber or not. And so, with very, very few exceptions, no program in the country is paying much attention at all to recruiting rankings. And so I think it's as simple as, there are schools out there that they love what Bo brings to the table. They're a little bit more apprehensive about Nico, and they figure, okay, and sure, twins, they'd love to play together, but if we feel this way about Bo, but we're not sold on Nico, then there are other schools that no doubt feel this way about Bo and are not sold on Nico. So odds are they're probably going to have to split up. Bo, if he wants to play P4 football, high-end P4 football, he's probably going to have to split up with his brother, who's more of a G5 type guy. But obviously, Oklahoma does not see it that way.
And that was going to be my next question to you, as I know we got about a minute left.
Mm-hmm.
What are the odds that they do end up splitting up?
Very slim. And I think that is in large part due to Oklahoma's involvement. If both brothers
there you go, people.
Yeah, if both brothers have an offer from a school like Oklahoma, well then again, why would you split up if you don't have to? And for them, if they have the chance to go play at a prestigious program like Oklahoma together, mind you, well then, is it really within the realm of possibility that Bo could choose a school like, I don't know, Washington, while Nico goes to Oklahoma because it's the best school on his offer sheet? I mean, I guess theoretically, sure, but when you have the combination of history, tradition, competitiveness, and also developmental prowess that exists at a place like Oklahoma. Again, on paper, it's really, really easy to look at that recruitment, that joint recruitment, if you will, and say, yep, Oklahoma's going to be in good shape there. But we'll see. We'll see what the Jandro Bros think of Oklahoma, and no doubt we'll talk about it on Monday. But for now, I'm going to call it a day and call it a week here on Locked In. For Grayson Singleton, I am Parker Thune. Thanks so much for coming along for the ride with us. As always, we'll be back same time, same place, 2 p.m. here on the Ref on Monday. Don't go anywhere. Tyler McComas and Teddy Lehman take over next. They will have 3 hours of sports talk to come, taking you all the way up to 6 p.m. through your drive home from work on this beautiful Friday.